You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
I'm Evan Closky.
And we're the hosts of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making Locked On Rays your very first listen every day. And remember, Locked On Rays is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Rays. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays. And you can email us anytime with your mailbag questions, lockedonrays@gmail.com. Ulises, we will have Evan Closky, WTSP sports director, for 2 episodes, Thursday and Friday. Yes. And let's get right into it. So we previewed the Angels series, and Ulises, you seem to be pretty confident that the Rays would win the series. I was unsure. I was waffling. I didn't know or think that the Rays would necessarily win the series, but I didn't think they would get their butts absolutely kicked in the first 2 games of the series and get no-no'd against Reed Detmers, but that's baseball, I guess.
It is baseball. And I saw the middle game, and I actually think I said this when we previewed the series. I was like, okay, the bookends are going to be tough. You got Syndergaard, you got Ohtani, watch out. If you pull one game for sure, it'll be the middle one. Yeah, well, for sure, the rookie throws a no, because that's baseball. I mean, you can't help it. I mean, I know that no-hitters have a lot of luck to do with them, but there were several expected batting averages of like, I think like 6 or 7. Ramirez was one of them. Oh, no, Ramirez was like 3 of them. Man, just a different kind of ball. Kiermaier had a long fly ball to center. There were a few that you were like, if just the wind would have caught it, or if just maybe the ball wasn't dead, maybe that wouldn't have happened. But that's the magic of no-hitters, right? There has to be some sort of luck. There has to be some sort of magic to it. And that's what happened.
Yeah, Evan, what was your take on the no-hitter action in which Reed Detmers only struck out 2, and it became not taking away from the no-hitter, but the game was a clunker, and it became an absolute joke once Brett Phillips was inserted as a pitcher and once Anthony Rendon went to hitting lefty. At that point, okay, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, a couple things. It really was a weird no-hitter. I mean, only 2 strikeouts. I did look it up. There have been no strikeout no-hitters, but that's all the way back in like the 20s and the 40s. I mean, that has to be like super rare considering what we watch in baseball these days.
Yeah.
Especially with the Rays. I mean, they're a team that likes to strike out as well. So just a really, weird set of circumstances. It felt like the night was destined to be something when they gave Ohtani his MVP award as well. And Kluber just stunk it up. I mean, Kluber, and it didn't matter. He could have pitched like a Cy Young, and it was, I mean, they weren't getting a hit. So, it's a throwaway game. It really is. I would. The thing is the response. And that's what's important, because you mentioned it really turned into a laugher, and you're throwing Brett Phillips out there, but then you have Rendon going lefty and going yard on you, which I think I saw on Twitter. Somebody brought up G-Man Choi's right-handed home run that he had back when there were no fans in the stands in the Trop. But yeah, I think I'm a little bit no hitters, whatever. That crap happens. It's a clunker. More upset about game 1 because it goes back to what was the issue earlier in the season, where that game probably doesn't get away from Tampa Bay if Kevin Kiermaier doesn't lose a ball in the lights. It's not an error, but it's, just something that's very unfortunate, and a tailor-made fly ball, which, Brett Phillips almost came out of nowhere to make the grab. But if he makes that grab, it's 1-0. Jeffrey Springs logs an amazing, a scoreless outing, which I think is the biggest positive to take away from this Angels series right now was that performance, and how Springsy might be a starting pitcher. Like he might be able to bolster this rotation while the team is still waiting on Patino and still waiting on Baz.
Can they actually pull this off, having two relievers like Drew Rasmussen and then Jeffrey Springs and just catapult them into the rotation? That's some sort of Rays way machinery in the pitching factor. But I do want to point out something that you both touched on, the Anthony Rendon batting a lefty. Kevin, you said, okay, let's knock it off. That's
honestly, I think that takes away from the no-hitter.
Well, honestly, I think it validates what the other team is already doing. Oh, you're going to put a position player lobbing 40-mile-an-hour curveballs at us, or fastballs, or slow balls, or however you want to define them, or how StatCast defines them. Well, then I don't have to bat like I want to. I can just go lefty. Like, that's the sort of thing that it just makes it seem kind of a spring training game. And so we've been adamant on this. Either mercy rule this thing, or just have no position players be called, or have what do we call it, Kevin? The white flag. Like, hey, we'll just pack it in. It's 12-0, 7th inning. You take the W. Because the batting lefty, Brett Phillips pitching, I get it. It's cool and whatever. But, like, it just takes away from stats. It takes away from the feeling of the game.
And it legitimizes some of the numbers. Like if, whoever, Shohei Ohtani or somebody hits his third home run or, gets 6 RBIs because Brett Phillips is on the mound, it's so hokey and it's so ridiculous in my opinion.
I mean, I'll say this, 2 things. Yes, it does pad stats in like the general sense of it, but executives and analytical departments, they weed out that crap.
But the voters don't when you're talking about like MVP awards, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're not going to go back and be like, well, we have to subtract 1 Ohtani home run because it came off of Brett Phillips, or 1 Trout home run. So no,
I guess you could say that it might even out over time, although I feel like some teams are maybe more willing to give up on a ball game than others. Like, oh, we're down by 6 runs. It's the 6th inning. Let's not even push it here.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely some of that as well. And just remember that those moments are very marketable moments for Major League Baseball. I mean, there was a no-hitter last night, which was, got all the buzz, to be honest. But let's just say there wasn't a no-hitter. Phillips versus Rendon lefty and Rendon going yard, like that would have been the story. But you see it all on social media. You see, I'm sure TikTok and whatever it might be, you see all that stuff. And these are the moments that Major League Baseball can appeal to a younger fan base and the goofy parts of the game where you kind of do let the kids play. So I certainly understand that it's a waste of time. Definitely. We in Tampa Bay, or Tampa Bay backers, enjoy it because Phillips is hilarious out there, and his post-game quotes were phenomenal as always, just talking about how it was essentially, I think somebody asked him about how Shohei Ohtani knew about Brett Phillips, and he was like, well, that's because I'm the best 2-way player in the game. Obviously he's going to know about me. And pretty much saying how I don't know what all this Ohtani talk is about. Last I checked, he only hit a double off of me. And it was chirping at him on second base to go back to the weight room. So there was some,
that's really fun and all, but you got your ass kicked. So I don't know if I need to be making those post game comments.
I mean, it is what it is. Like whether he doesn't make the what's the difference? You want to be like,
I'm not upset about, like him having fun after the game. Like, bro,
I get that.
If they were on a 10-game skid, I might be a little bit like, okay, I don't need the act right now. Like, you guys need to be a little bit serious. But I mean, I get it. They're on a 3-game losing streak. They were on a 6-game winning streak before that. In the end, right now, everything's kind of like okay. There's nothing wrong with trying to stay positive in negative environments. And if Brett Phillips is going to steal the headlines on quotes like that versus focusing on the no-hitter locally, then I think he's doing his part as a teammate, to be honest.
Well, maybe before you are going to get no hit by a rookie, maybe, Kevin, they should have, I don't know, had some athletic greens beforehand.
Yeah, that's probably what did them in. And honestly, I heard it on record that somebody, the clubby forgot to put athletic greens out.
Which is nuts because Athletic Greens, it's the single best thing you can do for your body in under 60 seconds. You might ask, what is this stuff? Well, with one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens in a cup of water, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, say that 5 times fast, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health, your recovery, focus, and aging. All of the things. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. So today, all you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/MLB Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/MLB Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance, Athletic Greens.
To tie a bow on this no-hitter stuff, do you all recall who made the error for the Angels at first base? Was it
Walsh?
Is it just me, or could he have made that play? Did he job it a little bit? I have a conspiracy theory that if you bobble a play and as you're going through a no-hitter, that you just like totally oversell it. You pro wrestler that thing.
What inning?
So you get that air as opposed to an infield hit or a hit or whatever it may be. Like you got to do whatever. You got to do your best.
It was
in the middle of the game.
Because I would buy your theory if it was after the 6th or around the 6th. And I think you're right. Maybe it was the 7th, Evan.
It was late in the game, I thought.
Yeah, I think it was 6th or 7th, if I remember.
I buy the theory.
Yeah, I mean,
they know that it's a no-hitter. They know what's going on. And if they have to do what they have to do to secure that thing.
Yeah, well, I was thinking there. I was like, man, that might, like it was a weird bounce.
If it was a close game, but it was a blowout by that point, right? More or less.
Yeah. It was. I leaned on the fact that play probably should have been made, but with Phillips' speed, there's an argument where Phillips could appeal the base hit and try to break, but he would never do that.
Yeah.
But players do that because they want their average up. There's a whole process that goes into it. So, if Phillips wanted to fight for that, he would, but Brett doesn't care. And
yeah. Additionally, you don't want to be the team that got no hit against a rookie who had a 5+ ERA and was making his 11th big league start. That's also another consideration, I think, because.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm kind of with Evan on this. He actually convinced me without me knowing that I needed to be convinced. Whatever. No hit. Whatever.
A loss is a loss is a loss, I guess. I like your approach of it because I'm sure there's people in the Twitter sphere that are just absolutely freaking out and losing their minds because it's still, at the end of the day, only counts as one loss.
Yeah.
And I guess if you're going to lose in that fashion, both games 1 and game 2, it might as well happen at midnight or 1 a.m. Eastern time when nobody is up.
And that's the thing. I mean, look, they're just going to be whatever. It's a no-hitter. The guy had the performance of his lifetime, but also had the luck of his lifetime too. A 2-strikeout no-hitter. I cannot get over that. It does not happen. So
there were hard hit balls in that game.
Yeah, it just so whatever. It really is. It just it was a clunker of a game. And beyond the thing is, they were never winning that game. Kluber sucked. So that the fact of the matter is that they could have scored 7 off Detmer. It wouldn't have mattered. They literally had no shot in that game because Kluber was that bad. So might as well just stink it all the way home because you were done in the 3rd inning. So as I said, way more of a Monday morning quarterback about game 1, what could have been if they didn't screw up that. And I don't want to say Kiermaier screwed it up. He lost the ball. It just happens sometimes. It's unfortunate. But again, with this team, mistakes constantly bite them in the tush. So it just this team, and when they are not making the plays that they should, whether it's an error or a lost ball or whatever it might be, they have not capitalized on just letting that go away. It always comes back to haunt them. So they gotta fielding and running is really got to be the staple, because I've been saying it for weeks now. Even when they were hot, the bats only can do so much. They do not have the consistency in that lineup to be a force for an extended period of time, which is why during that stretch they were winning close games. They should have swept the Mariners, but sorry, 1-0 lead. You give yourself no margin for error. And Kitty, who is fantastic, by the way, who got out of the eighth, and you feel as confident as ever, he left one over the plate, and boom, there it was. And you know, we can harp on that, or we can harp on the fact that Manuel Margot was the entire offense for a week.
Well, I don't think we have seen this team for a good 10 games be solid base running and be solid with the glove. Mm-hmm. I don't think so. 10 games. And I know that they've played 30 almost? They're at 29, 30 games. That a third of the games, you can give me a good 10 game stretch on the fundamentals of base running and glove, which is what has been your trademark of being a good base running team, good defensively. Of course, the pitching has been, I think, for the most part there, because they're playing close games. But
the pitching has been there. And honestly, even with the bullpen, I don't even think they're like. Last year, I just felt like they were deep all the way through, even when they brought up guys like Whistler, who was designated for assignment. There's a lot, like in my head, I'm like, man, there's so many more question marks with this bullpen. But for the most part, they're still doing their job. They still are like 2 or 3 arms short. And that's even including like Whistler, who was back to his Braves performance that got him DFA'd in the first place last year. I think Whistler has to be whistled off of high leverage situations at this point. That's a problem. But then you bring in a guy like Jason Adam, and look at this guy. As long as he's throwing strikes, he's
a new Lewis head. He comes out of nowhere, and he's very effective.
Yeah, he is.
Ulises, you might know this better than most. Is it just me, or does it seem like the Rays get no hit against mediocre pitchers, or pitchers that you wouldn't think would throw a no-hitter or a perfect game?
I mean, I think, again, the magic of a no-hitter, the magic of a perfect game is it's part of the DNA of a no-hitter in a perfect game. So it's always going to be kind of a lot. I mean, if I were to tell you the names of pitchers that have had a no-hitter in the last 20 years, a good 40%, you're going to be like, who?
I mean, look at last year. Like half the no-hitters were Zach Davies, Ryan Tepera, Spencer Turnbull, guys like that.
Yeah. Well, a really good trivia question would be naming the other 5. We know Reed Detmers. Who are the other 5 pitchers to no-hit the Rays? I mean, you say that, but Felix Hernandez was the last one who did it 10 years ago, and that was one of the greatest games ever pitched.
Yeah. Well, lucky for you, Evan, you and I are on the same wavelength, because we have you for 2 episodes, and boy, oh boy, did you just screw up my trivia question for tomorrow.
I have no idea. I can't even. I looked it up briefly last night. I know it's happened 6 total times. Okay, but man, I couldn't even tell you. I know that's
a little.
Between the 2 of you, I'm sure you will get it next episode.
Yeah, that's a little foreshadowing. By the way,
Garza on the good end of things. So
I've got a prop bet for both of you before we move along here. Over under 9.5 no hitters this season.
Under.
There have been 2 so far, and this includes combined no hitters. Last year there were 9, by the way.
No, under. I don't care. I mean, that 9 is ridiculous. 9 would be to the point that something needs to happen.
I would say you might get me on the over at 5.5. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna disagree with both of you, and I think there will be at least 10 no hitters. Now, 7 of them may be against the Reds, but.
They're progressive. I think they just took the series against the Brewers.
Yeah, they
That might be
did.
the only series they take this entire season.
And I think they beat the Pirates too, didn't they? During the weekend, I think they took the series
Yeah,
against the Pirates. So.
yeah, there's nothing to brag about there. But
Yeah,
I'm trying
yeah.
to get the name Cincinnati Deadlegs to be a thing this year, so just join on the bandwagon.
Look
That's
at
not a bad hashtag.
Closky with the puns and the sayings. He's still in his TV mode.
I have
How
a
about
bunch
that?
of friends. I mean, I went to Ohio State. I have a bunch of Cincinnati friends and talk baseball. And I texted them. I was like, "Is anybody calling them the Cincinnati Deadlegs? Because I want to steal that. That's my thing." All right.
Very good. Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. You can find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline, it is your continued source for all your sport wagering info, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. So head over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. All right, Ulises, I'm going to give you credit for coming up with this segment idea. We did it last week, and we'll continue it this week. How's that X-ray?
I like that title. Do you think it's a good soundbite title, Evan? Does that work in the biz? How's that X-ray doing?
Sure. Is that like? But does anybody ever like walk around being like, "Hey man, how was that X-ray?" Like usually that's like, I'm thinking like a connotation of like, "Oh man, you went to the doctor. How are you doing?"
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole deal. That's how was that X-ray? How'd that go? Just like name that war.
How's that? How's the X's doing?
Let's take a look at the X-ray.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the X-ray. I'll have one for you both.
Working title. I think we all have one. So we'll Ulises, go ahead. I'm curious about yours.
Well, my this guy was a great Ray for a long time, of course, in quotations, because of the franchise that the Rays are. Joey Wendell. My gosh, he had his way with the month of April. He hit 304, 371 on base, 446 slugging, 817 OPS for the month of April. He had 6 multi-hit games. Has come down to earth a little bit in May. He's only hitting 240 and about a 600 OPS. But Miami is exploiting him and his versatility as they should. He has been in every spot in the lineup this year, except for first or eighth, and played shortstop and third base for the Fish. So currently he is hitting 286 with a 756 OPS. But the thing that got my attention the most is his K rate. It's at 11.8%. which means he's in the 94th percentile in strikeout rate. That is just the best ever in his career so far. So good things are happening to Joey Wendell. Didn't have to move his family that long, maybe from Tampa to Miami. So maybe he just likes Florida.
Two things. The Rays certainly could use his bat in the lineup. Second of all, Joey Wendell might be the most anti-Miami guy you could ever imagine. Like, Joey Wendell does not have, this guy lives in South Beach or lives in Broward County or whatever. Like, he definitely continues to live up to his Westchester, Pennsylvania roots or Delaware roots or wherever he
you did say that he would be a terrific Philadelphia Philly player, the blue collar, all that stuff.
Somebody, I think I saw somebody write on social media once, like a picture of Joey Wendell. Please do not tell me that this guy did not come out of 1915 baseball.
Like, the dude built his own house by hand. Like, this is what we're talking about.
When he holds a bat, he's actually like carving the wood. Like the shavings are coming off.
Hey, he's got to build up those calluses.
Churn butter, like that. He's like doing that to the bat. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Every boomer loves Joey Wendell, the type of player he is.
Call me a boomer then, because I love what Joey Wendell has to offer, my man.
He's got one of those mitts that's like the super old school one where it has no web.
All right. Miami could make the playoffs this year, right? Aren't they doing well?
What was that?
Isn't Miami doing well this year?
They're not doing bad. Yeah.
I don't know how they've done recently, but they're competing.
Yeah.
I mean, the Mets are obviously crushing that division at this point.
Yeah.
But
Again, the Mets will blow it
right
eventually.
there. Miami's pitching is legit. They got it.
Yeah.
They are.
That's why
Evan, who is your X-ray? How is your X-ray? Whatever.
Okay, so I'm going to do. I switched it up from what we were talking about before, but I'm doing Will Myers.
Ooh,
Yeah,
nice
so
one.
He's in his 8th year with the San Diego Padres, and this is he's off to a really bad start to the season. In 16 games, has 0 home runs, has just 13 hits, and 3 of them are extra base hits and doubles. He's batting .220, OBP of .254. His career, he certainly for a couple of years there was crushing it. I mean, he had nearly 60 home runs in 16 and 17, was an all-star in 16. And then in 2020, during the MLB shortened season, that could have been his best year ever. In 55 games, he had 15 bombs, was batting .288, 353 OBP, slugging .606. I mean, those were all, you can argue that he was due for a regression, but I mean, his pace was at like 40-something home runs. And I mean, it was just a remarkable 55 games. But yeah, overall, I don't think Will Myers ever turned into the star that he was supposed to be when coming up through the ranks.
See, that is exactly why in this show we do not prospect hug. Because I think Will Myers has had a fine career. I think so. Like most
he's
players,
got a 10-year Major League Baseball career.
Yeah, like every baseball kid would just be like, yeah, give me those stats, give me the money that Will Myers has had, and his experiences, an all-star nomination, all that stuff, right? Like he's had a good season, but a good career. But when you look at the hype surrounding these prospects, especially when he came up, my goodness, like, does it really equate the vibe and all the buzz around it? I mean, Kevin always tells us, don't look at that at all.
Yeah, it's funny. First of all, with Will Myers, I can't believe he's now spent 8 years in San Diego. It just seems like not too long ago that he was making his MLB debut for the Rays. Just talk about how time flies. That's really insane. Evan, I don't know if you're reading my mind or what, but the guy I am also going to spotlight also plays for the San Diego Padres currently and is, of course, a former Ray, but he's a pitcher and a lefty. Blake Snell. Blake Snell this year has thrown 0 innings in the big leagues as he's dealing with some kind of groin injury. Now, he did have a really good start in AAA, striking out 7 over 5 innings the other day. Now, last year, he had a 4.20 ERA for San Diego in 128 and 2/3 innings pitched, 1.321 WHIP. His FIP was actually 3.82. But my question for you, just off the top of your head, knowing what you know now and where the Rays stand and where I guess the Padres stand, would you have made that trade all over again where the Rays traded Blake Snell and in return got Francisco Mejia, Luis Patino, Blake Hunt, friend of the program, Wilcox?
Yes. I mean, I think in hindsight, you could have gotten more. I think that's the big takeaway. But ultimately, it's very clear that Blake Snell is not going to be worth the money that he's going to command. And with the Rays having a limited budget, paying him would not have been an option. Or if it was, the Rays would be screwed for many years because they're stuck with him and that contract. So trading him in hindsight, correct move. While everyone moaned about it, and rightfully so, by the way, deservedly so, because the fans deserve better. But it seems like it was the right move. It just looks like the Patino we just don't know about.
He's incredibly young, too.
Exactly. There's just a lot more learning we have to do. And there was always this thought that maybe Patino would have to be a perennial reliever as well. And he's getting, early in his career pushed to be a starter. So we don't know about Patino, and we'll see. Mejia, has been a really good backup. Back. He might. I don't know. Next year he might be the main guy. Who knows? But he's been solid. I don't think he was the main course in that dish. And the other prospects, who knows? So undefined. But I think big picture, it was the right move to make, trading him. Even though at the time I think I might have been, not that I was here working here yet, but at the time I probably would have been like, yo, this is unfair to the fan base.
I'll summarize, I think, by saying short term, at least for me, bad move short term,
right?
Tremendous move long term. And I say short term in the 2021 season. Boy, wouldn't have been nice to have Blake Snell against the Red Sox at the Trop, or to have his arm in the rotation to go at Fenway and be already ready and not have to,
And his numbers would have been better with the Rays. I just think his numbers would have been better with the Rays. I think the Padres, they let him go longer. That's what he wants.
The Padres were dysfunctional. They weren't going anywhere. The clubhouse sucked. It was all that. That's the other thing too, is we have to realize the human aspect and the personality aspect of things when it came to this move. Remember the whole Kevin Cash, Blake Snell playoff snafu. You wonder if there was just a relationship that wouldn't be or couldn't be repaired between Blake Snell and the coaching staff in the front office. And it's not the first time that he has been outspoken about how the Rays operate, slap blank prospect anyone. So that also could be a little bit of something as well, in addition to the salary and in addition to the injury history. And in addition to Mejia is a pretty good player, at least offensively. I think Patino will be good in time, and Cole Wilcox, I think he's injured or had some sort of injury and is rehabbing. And
I think TJ or something with the elbow. Yeah.
Blake Hunt, I think he'll probably make it to the big leagues and be more of a defensive minded backup catcher. I think maybe he'll stick around to be general manager or scouting director one day for the Rays, or maybe future manager or something like that, because he's so bright and awesome. I mean, if you have a chance to listen to our interview with him about a year ago, he is a cavalcade of baseball knowledge, but just something to think about. So
before we wrap this up, because we are wrapping it up, I just, this is Tampa Bay too. So I'm wearing my Lightning shirt. Today's Thursday. Game 6 is today, correct? So let's go Lightning. Let's go Bolts. Let's go Kucherov. Let's go Hetty.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Little known fact here, Ulises is actually one of the biggest Lightning fans
I know
out there. I think he had season tickets, front row seats.
I'm getting a Stamkos tattoo on my chest tomorrow. So obviously, yeah.
They need it. They need all the good vibes you can provide, because this could be it. This could be
like a comeback. Like a comeback. Game 6. Let's go.
Hockey, Venezuela's, is there a more, symbiotic combination? Bigger than baseball for sure, I would say.
100%.
Anyway. All right. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your very first listen every day. Now make your second listen, the Locked On MLB podcast. That is also free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you on Friday.